Hello, everyone. Welcome to Effortless Confidence. This is a webinar about how to be free of the shackles from anxiety and stress that we go through on an everyday life. So I've called it The Art to a Stress-Free Life. My name is Lucy Bainbridge, and I'm a transformational coach. I help people with their addictive behaviour and their inner state of mind, which is what's impacting our confidence and our opportunities and our possibilities in the world. So this presentation is for you. If you have a purposeful message to share, so if you are someone who has something that you want to get out into the world, like anything that you think is worth the world knowing about, then this is for you. And this is about removing visibility issues. If you want to feel free and easy connecting to anyone, anywhere, anytime. So if you want to feel like you can talk to anyone, it doesn't matter what you think of them, and you just want to feel free and easy being with anyone, then this is also for you. If you are dependent on alcohol or drugs to make you feel comfortable in connecting with people, if you want to change direction in your career or your personal life, maybe you're at a crossroads and you're not really sure where to go. You might be going through some kind of trauma, or you're experiencing a point in your life where you really can't see a way out. This is going to calm you down and make you realize that you have everything you need within you to make the right decisions. And this is also for you if you become anxious in groups of people. Like if you are fine one-to-one, but then suddenly, as soon as it means that you go in front of, or you talk in social situations with lots of people there, or maybe you just completely avoid them altogether. And this will also help you if you're making big decisions in your life. We need to make, sometimes when we're stepping up and stepping out in the world, we need to make big decisions. And this is how to trust yourself and do it without doubt or fear. So just a bit of housekeeping. Can I just check that people can hear me? This is the first time I've used GoToWebinar. So you should be able to see at the side of your screen that you can put your hand up. Okay, so Claire's putting her hand up. Thank you. Could everyone put their hand up, just so I know that you can use the thing properly? Oh, great. All your hands are going up. Lovely. Beautiful. Okay, so for this webinar, I'm so pleased to see so many of you on here. It's really lovely to have you all on here, and you will get a lot out of this just by being on here. So if you could turn off your phones or distractions for the next, it's about 75 to 90 minutes. Basically, what I'm sharing with you tonight can be quite mind-blowing. Okay, so this isn't something that we're used to hearing every day. So it's great if you can kind of listen with nothing else on your mind, and you can focus in, and you can just be present for this webinar. Grab a pen and paper if you haven't already, because it's not for taking notes. You don't need to write anything down. There's nothing that you're going to need to remember. It's just for you to do the exercises in relation to what you for the exercises in relation to your own stuff. And so already I've sent out an email. I don't know if you've done this already, but if you could think of an area in your life right now, just one, where you need more confidence, something that you think life would be much better with a lot more confidence in. Once you've got that, I think then what you need to do is you need to think, it just needs to be one. You don't need to have like loads and loads of things. We just stick with one for the purpose of this webinar. And then at the end, I'm going to get you to ask any questions that you have. And if you've got anything you want to email, my email address is lucy@lucyforlife.com. Okay. So, like I said again, if you get your pen and paper and you just write down what area of your life would you like to have more confidence in, and how would you know if you had more confidence in this area? So basically, how would you measure this? How would you know that this thing had been achieved? Because, you know, when I say what area of your life would you like more confidence in, this can be a bit kind of general. Like, so you might say relationships, or you might say speaking to people, but it's like, how would you know if it got sorted? What would be the outcome, the specific outcome that you would like? So say in relationships, it might be you know, you could go on a date without having a panic attack before you meet up with the guy, say, for instance. Or you know, it could be I want specifically to be able to talk in front of people who I work with. So moving on, what we'll be covering this evening is why everything you have known about confidence has been back to front up to now. So basically, we can see confidence as something that's really difficult, really quite you know, something that we need to get, like it's hard to have, like we don't have it and it's going to be a long time before we do, etc., etc. So this is I want you to see that this is going to be easy for you. Okay, then the 3 foundations of true, unshakable, attractive confidence that once realized will change your life forever for the better. Okay, and I know this is quite a bold statement, but it's true. What I'm going to share with you will completely change the way that you've been seeing life. And like I said, we're doing 3 foundations, but for the purpose of this webinar, I'm only able to go through the first one, which you will later see why, because I want to give you as much value as I can on here. But the following 2 will become as a consequence of the first, as you will see later. Okay, what else we'll be covering is the simple understanding that will shatter all the unnecessary anxiety and fear. Again, it's the same understanding, but it's going to start to unlock and free up a lot of your mind's pain and limitation. And then 4th thing is how we can use our moods to guide us rather than hinder us. And then the secret of those, they've got something about them, people uncovered. So, you know, the kind of attractive qualities that we see in other people that we think we don't have in ourselves. I'm going to show you what that's really all about. Okay, so who am I and why listen to me? So I'm not going to go on forever about this. A lot of you will know me already, but for those of you who don't, my history is one of wild partying, addiction, up and down, incredible highs, and then incredible lows. And I went through, you know, the beginning of my life, my teenage years, feeling very insecure, very low self-esteem. I was bullied for the way that I looked, and it basically I didn't know how to stick up for myself. So I would find myself feeling totally alone and totally like uninteresting and unable to connect with people, and people would take the mick out of me, and I would want to impress people, but I would freeze, and I would have all these thoughts about who I was and wasn't able to I had no respect for myself, and then when drugs and alcohol, I started drinking, it was like all of that changed. So suddenly this kind of confident girl would come out, and I would be, suddenly people would actually respond to me better. So I spent my life thinking from an early age, 16, 15, that I needed drugs and alcohol in order to connect with other people. And you know, at that age it's very normal, but the more we go on, getting to 25, 26, and we're still in the same cycle, and the drugs are getting heavier and the situations are getting worse, and the highs aren't high anymore and the lows are just incredibly like hellish, you realize there's got to be something wrong. This can't be the way it needs to be. And so when I wasn't drinking and wasn't taking drugs, you know, I found life awful. I found it boring. I found it mundane. I used to want to be anywhere else but where I was at that moment. All I would think about was cocaine, and all I would think about was, you know, how can I get out of this situation, whatever one I was in. So, and I didn't know what to do about that. I didn't know any better. Everyone I knew was the same. I still managed to hold down a job, so I didn't really have a clue what was going on. I just thought that life was quite a miserable experience. And then one day I was reading a book, and the book said that what I was thinking about was what I was experiencing. It said, what you're thinking about is you are bringing into your life. And so I'd heard that a few times in my life, but for some reason it really hit home this time. So I had an insight. Okay, so what happened to me was I had an insightful understanding, like an epiphany moment, an aha, wake up moment, where I saw the world differently within an instant. And that kind of thing doesn't happen every day. That kind of thing doesn't happen every day. Sorry, I just received a message. That kind of thing doesn't happen every day, but when it does happen, it changes people's lives forever. And I didn't know what had happened to me at the time. I just knew that I needed to help people because my happiness soared from that point. My addictions got dropped. I stopped smoking. I stopped sniffing coke. I drinking, you know, that still happens every now and then. But the main point was that I was able to be okay and happy and felt good within my life without the drugs and the alcohol. And I started to go on this journey where I learned more and more about the mind so I could help other people. And now I have got to a point where I can induce the same kind of shift in consciousness, shift in perception that I had that day when I read that book. So this is what I hope for you. And the reason why I do this is because there is too much of that misery, too much of that pain, too much of this anxiety has become a chronic problem in the world. And at this point in our lives, I mean, this point in humanity, we need people to step up. We need people to be fulfilling their dreams and their desires. That's how it should be. But we've just not developed. We've not understood how our life is working. So we are constantly in fear most of the time about what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen next week, what are we going to do about this, what will people think about this, and and it's incessant. So if that's what's happening to you, raise your hand if you're experiencing, if you're someone who wants to step up, step out in the world, but you've got too much fear at the moment. Please raise your hand so I know we're on the same page. Yeah, okay, two of you, great. Wicked. So basically we're at a time in our existence where we don't need to go through this anymore. And what I'm going to show you and what I'm going to share to you is powerful, and it does change people's lives completely. Okay, so I'll show you some testimonials just so so I'm grounding this. I'm not just saying it. Megan, when I first met Megan, she said, I can honestly say that you were the reason I have changed my relationship with alcohol. And basically, all we did was we saw how her thoughts, which are the root cause of all our problems, were creating how she related to alcohol. And so just from a few sessions and just from the course that I ran last year, it changed everything for her, and now she's on a different path. And this is what I'm trying to share with you, is that it doesn't need to be massive change. This is why it's called effortless confidence. It's not big behavioral hard work, willpower, like go. All of that stuff doesn't work because it doesn't really transform us. It's a temporary fix. Okay, so it's just about seeing it differently, Okay, and then Chris, when I first started working with Chris, like Chris is heavily addicted to all sorts of drugs. He struggles with paranoia, and he's one of those people you can see is struggling with paranoia. And just from a few conversations with what I'm sharing with you tonight, he has upward spiraled incredibly. Like the change in him, that he's standing better, the way he laughs off situations now rather than getting upset about them, the way, Chris hasn't had a girlfriend for 10 years, and now he's started asking girls out and he's going out on dates. So to me, that, I mean, I could never have imagined that. So, but this just comes from seeing it different. This is not about techniques or hard work. It comes from insightful understanding, which is basically just a new thought. Okay. And then Carolina, when first started working with her, she was very angry. She thought her life should be different. And by the end of it, which is why she was binging on sugar, because addiction is just when we are in a low state of mind and we need something for our comfort. So we seek externally for our comfort. That's all it is. We have so many different forms of addiction. We all suffer with it on some level, and hers was eating sugar. And so just from her insightful understanding, she gave that up. And then it's not really about the sugar, it's about how we feel inside. Okay, moving on. So just this is what I want for you. This is the kind of thing I want for you. Okay, so let's go to the truth about confidence. Now, my job on this webinar is just to show you that it is a lot simpler than we think. Now, we overcomplicate everything in our lives, but it's actually doesn't need to be that difficult. And confidence is not a difficult thing. So just to show you a few ways that we may be perceiving confidence that make it feel like a struggle. Okay. So sometimes we think we need to build confidence, okay? Like it's a muscle or something, like it's something with physical that we need to build upon, which to me seems like hard work. Anything that involves muscle work or building or, putting time and consistent effort into is hard work for me personally. Confidence isn't physical, it's formless, okay? It's a state of mind. So techniques, there'll be lots of people who tell you if you do this technique and that technique, then you will achieve your inner confidence. Now, this is maybe true. Maybe you'll have an insight whilst you're doing these techniques, but ultimately, techniques is an external thing. It means that in order to have confidence, we need to do something that's been made up from someone else's mind, right? So I'm not slagging these off. I'm just saying that these aren't absolutes. They're belief systems. Okay. So behavior. Now, often we look at people's behavior when they're confident and we try and copy it. Now, again, like I tried to say, behavioral change is difficult. But a lot of seminars you go to say, right, if you look someone in the eye, then you hold their handshake and you firmly shake their hand, then they're going to be, they're going to have more confidence, etc., etc. This again is basing it on external stuff, like, so maybe, oh, she looks good, she has this way about her, I'll copy that and then I will be confident. But it's missing the point again. Or it's an objective personality trait. So maybe we think that some people have it and some people don't. Like, I am confident or I am not, or she is confident or she isn't. And we all have confidence. Okay, it's subjective. It's a subjective state of mind. It's like some areas we have it in and some areas we don't. So we're going to see through that. And then the egotistical kind of idea of confidence, thinking that, confidence in some way, relating it to being arrogant or showy or, having lots of money, or, you know, I don't know, something that where we think, oh, well, if we're confident, then people are going to feel intimidated by us, or something like that. So this is to show you that none of these things are what confidence is about, and actually it's much easier for you to attain. It is effortless. So what is confidence? Dictionary definition: self-confidence is a feeling of trust in one's abilities, one's qualities and judgments. Okay. So how do we attain this kind of trust within ourselves? Well, I want you to think about when you trust yourself or you trust someone else. Do you have to remember to trust them? Do you constantly think that you need to trust them? Or are you even aware that you trust someone? And my guess is that you don't. Okay, so when I trust someone, I don't need to think about that. I haven't even thought about it. If someone asked me, do I trust that person? I would say, yeah, I do. But I wouldn't be aware of that until someone pointed that out. So I just want you to see that trust is not thinking, right? And confidence is also not thinking. It's not a thinking state. We don't need. It's not an area where we need to think our way into it. We're like, confident people aren't walking around thinking that they're confident. Okay, so just to bring that into it. Okay, so this is the reality of confidence. Confidence is our natural state. Okay, when we're born, this cute little baby that you see in front of you now, this is who we are. This is what we are brought into the world as. Okay, babies don't think. They don't have memories. They don't have the ability to compare themselves. They are not conditioned to think about failure or rejection, or what the correct way to be in society is. So confidence, therefore, is a place where we are not thinking. We are not thinking about what it is that we're doing. We don't need to think to be confident. Confidence is who we are. Okay. And the problem, now you're probably thinking, yeah, all right, but I'm not confident. How come I'm not then, right? So what I'm going to get you to see is that the only thing in the way of your confidence is the fact that you think that you're not confident. Okay, so you minus the insecure thoughts equals confidence. So just let this settle in for a minute. Like, you already have the confidence and you just think that you don't. Okay. So now we're going to have an exercise. So if you get your pen and paper, and I want you to write down 3 areas of your life that you are already confident within. Okay. So this doesn't have to be like major stuff. Like, it could be anything from driving a car to typing on the computer to so for me, I'm a confident hairdresser. I do hairdressing as well, and so that's something I don't need to think about, right? Not thinking about it. When I'm driving my car, I'm not thinking about it. I would say I'm a pretty confident driver. It doesn't mean that I was always a confident driver. It just means that I have faith, like the dictionary says, I have faith in my ability to do that. So if you write down 3 areas that you're already confident in, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter how mundane. It doesn't matter if it's really amazing. And I'm sure you can think of more than 3. I mean, we're walking down the road every day. Do we get unconfident walking down the road? No, like, we're pretty much good at walking, so we're quite confident in that area. And so what do you notice about your thinking in these areas? Me personally, when I'm confident, I'm not thinking that I'm confident. I'm just doing it. I'm just doing it. I'm not even aware of whether I'm confident in it or not. Okay. So hopefully that's enough time. Okay. So now you're thinking, well, okay, so how do we get rid of these insecure thoughts? And I'm going to read you this quote from Sydney Banks. Sydney Banks is he is the founder, the father, the person who insightfully saw this understanding before anyone else. So I'm sharing from him. He said the solutions. This is a bit complex, but so the solutions to outwardly complex problems created by misguided thoughts, right? Okay, so our problems are created by misguided thoughts, will not arise from complicated analytical theory, i.e., a confidence manual, but will emerge as an insight wrapped in a blanket of simplicity. Okay. So like I said earlier, what I'm teaching you today, there is nothing for you to do. There is nothing for you to think your way out of or think your way into. An insight is what happened to me. It's something where you just see it differently. Now, we have these all day, every day. We have them when we remember where we've put our car keys suddenly, or we can't think of someone's name, and then suddenly it will come to us, or we don't know what we're going to do, and then we don't know what we're going to do about a certain situation, and then suddenly it comes to us. That's an insight. It's just a new thought, a new way of seeing something. So it's very basic. It's not, sometimes it's exciting, sometimes it's not, but it's happening to us regularly. So this is trying to drop you out of your current thinking around your confidence and getting you to become aware. And the reason why I've highlighted be is because we're not doing this. We don't need to do anything. It's about being in this. We're far too obsessed with how to do something, but not every bit of learning that we have will come from how to's. So we can slow down and be more, become aware. Okay, this is what this is about, being aware. And then we understand something. So like we understand how gravity works, we were never shown a manual on how gravity works, but we do know that if we drop our phone on the floor, it's going to drop on the floor. It'd be really weird if it floated up to the sky. So we naturally know stuff without having to do anything to learn it. So what I'm doing here is getting you to see that you will get this bit by bit by bit. And some people buy books on this stuff, some people get coaching. There's always you can always go deeper on this, but there's no technique here. It's just listen and be open to seeing something differently from the way you've been seeing it before. So this shift in perception is really what's the root cause of the problem, and it's always in the mind. The limitation that we experience is in our mind. It's not in reality. Okay, so how are we going to do this, right? So I've given us 3 foundations of effortless confidence. Now this is like a process. This is my idea. This is how I see it. This isn't fact. There's no scientific fact on this. It's just the way I see it. And like I said, we're going to go through the first one, which is seeing through the illusion of fear. And the reason why we're going to do this tonight is because the last 2 come as a result of it. So the 3 are seeing through the illusion of fear, trusting who you really are, not who you think you are, who you really are. And then the powerful connection will come as a result of all of this, because you will be able to then connect with anyone, anywhere, anytime, because you will see that you're already connected to them. Okay. So what seeing through the illusion of fear does for you, it makes you, like I said, it makes you feel safe. in your environment, anywhere, anytime, that will make you start to feel like there's nothing to worry about. Okay, life will start to go on an upward spiral of positivity, just like Chris, just like Carolina, just like myself. What I'm sharing with you, when it lands, will start to work itself for you. You don't need to do anything about this. You will start to see life differently, and it will get easier, and you will get happier. Then you will also start to feel present and grounded in situations that would usually stress you out. Quite literally, this has happened to me, and I haven't tried to be less stressed. I have just been in situations like such as tonight, right? So this is an example. My internet connection went. Now, I would have probably cried if that had happened to me 2-3 years ago. Probably would be crying on this presentation now, but I'm not, because it doesn't matter, right? It's not the end of the world, and I haven't got any stress about it. But I haven't tried not to have stress. It's just not there. So what I'm saying is that you will start to notice that you won't have as much stress. It just won't be there anymore. And people also find that they have more energy and time and presence as well. Like they have, because they haven't got so much on their head, they're not exhausted from all of the anxiety, so they've got more energy. And then they naturally are more appreciative about what they're doing in the moment, rather than trying to be somewhere else all the time. And people literally have less problems, and that's because the problem, which I will get you to see in a minute, is in the mind. The problem is always in our minds, and the negative thought patterns will start to dissolve bit by bit by bit. Okay, so this is a quote from Marianne Williamson, and she says, "Love is what we're born with." She's a spiritual teacher. "Love is what we're born with. Fear is what we learnt here." Okay, so Marianne Williamson wrote a book. She also struggled with addiction in her life. But what she's referring to here is love is what we're born with. That's the baby, right? This is why we're so attracted to babies. They are presents. They're pure love. They haven't got any qualms. They're not struggling. They're not in insecure thought. They're just being themselves. Okay. And that is what's so beautiful about them. It's not that they need to be perfect. They are perfect. We can see that they are perfect already, but they don't need to try to be, because that's who they are. And then fear is what we learned here. Okay, so this is a programming that we go into. Okay. So I want to draw a distinction between real fear, because you're probably thinking, well, don't I need to worry about stuff? Isn't it crucial that I worry about stuff? You might be thinking, well, if you reflect now on the difference between real fear and anxiety, so to try and think of a time where you needed real fear, and that's what showed up for you. So real fear is a reaction to an actual threat in our environment. So it's external, right? So if a bear is going to come and leap on us and attack us, that would be a real threat. Okay, if a lion is going to come and bite my head off, if a bus is about to run me over, if my house is about to burn down, if we see someone about to fall off a cliff, these are real threats, and we act in the moment. We don't need to think about it. We act. That's the purpose of fear. So it does hold a purpose, and it's a survival instinct. It's not consciously thought. Anxiety, on the other hand, is an internal reaction to a habitual thought pattern. So again, this is what we're dealing with. Okay, I want you to see that the anxiety that you're experiencing is thought. Okay, it's a habitual thought pattern, and it's always in the future. It's always in anticipation of a future event that has not happened yet. Because if we are thinking about it, then it isn't real yet. Okay, it's not there. It's not in the room. It doesn't exist yet. It's an imaginary expectation. It's a future thing. So when we're born and when we're kids, Okay, you remember when we used to be scared of the monsters in the cupboard? Maybe we'd watch a scary film, and then, like for me, for instance, when I watched that film, The Exorcist, I had to sleep in my parents' bedroom for 3 weeks. I wasn't even that young either, but I used to be super, super scared because I would think that what was going to happen to me, that what happened in The Exorcist, was going to happen to me. Like, I truly believed that, and there was nothing you could do to tell me otherwise. So that is our imagination. But slowly but surely, I got over that. Okay, just like little kids get over the idea of monsters and stuff like this. But as adults, we start to make up other stuff in our imagination. We start to think that other things may happen and they're not real yet. Okay, so this is where we get confused. We've still got imaginations, but we're just believing some rather than others. Okay, because if you're thinking about this thing that you're scared of, then it means it's not a real threat, because you're not considering, you don't need to, when you're really scared because there's an actual threat, you don't consider your options, right? You're not like, oh, shall I run off, shall I not, like, you act. So therefore, if you're thinking about it, it means it's not happened yet. It's a false expectation appearing real. And I want you to probably remember that when we do get into these actual situations that need real fear, that we cope with incredible resilience. Okay, so an example was when my mum was ill. I don't know how I cope. If I was to have to think about how to cope with that, I wouldn't be able to cope with that. But I didn't have to think about it because something comes over us and we act in the moment and we become present. And it's innate, it's not a conscious thought process. So I want you to see that the anxiety is in the mind, it's not in reality. Okay. So the first point in seeing through the illusion of fear is this. Now, if you get nothing else from this webinar, this is what I need you to see through. This is the key. This is the game changer. Okay. So we have been innocently conditioned to think that our circumstances create our feelings. What I mean by this is, if I say to you, we're feeling our thinking, some of you may go, yeah, I know that, obviously, right? Other people are going to be like, what are you talking about? And so other people, it's going to be like a revelation. So wherever you are with this, I'm just getting you to see that. I just want you to see, I'm just going to go through it wherever you are with it. Okay, so give me an example of traffic. Traffic is a great example because we can all relate to being in traffic. Now, when I'm sitting in traffic sometimes and I'm late for work, okay, I feel anxious and I get stressed and I can actually start sweating, and it feels to me like my experience is coming from the traffic, the fact that I'm late, or my angry boss when I get to work, or the client who I haven't turned up on time for, or I mean, it's endless. Or it could be the guy next to me who, cut me up, and so now I think it's him that's stressing me out. And this is a natural thing, right? We all do this. But let's just think about another time when we're in traffic. Sometimes I'm in traffic and I'm actually quite pleased that I'm in traffic because I don't actually want to go where I'm going, or I quite like this, I'm quite enjoying listening to the radio, or I'm in a good mood, and the traffic, I'm not even aware that it's really happening, right? So what I'm getting you to see here is that the constant, okay, the thing that's the same is the traffic, and the difference between the two situations is the way that I am thinking. Okay, so we are never feeling, now this is bold, but it's true, we are only ever feeling our thinking. Okay, so we are not feeling circumstances, we're feeling our thinking. And I will give you an example in a minute, but I just want you to see whether this seems obvious or not to you. this is, again, you may understand this as a concept, right? You may see that that makes sense to you, but we're actually living as if it's the other way round, and that's because we're conditioned that way. So the media conditions us, okay, and marketing. All marketing is basically selling you a feeling. So, for instance, there was a thing on the radio the other day, and it said, and it was funny, it was right in time because I was thinking of examples, and it was Rimmel foundation, and it said every girl needs confidence. Okay, every girl needs confidence, and good skin means you have good confidence. You have confidence. Basically, it was selling foundation, but it was really selling you the feeling of confidence. And it's the same with those lawn grower things for men. So you will have the best lawn in the street, and all the other guys are going to be jealous of you, and that means basically they sell this lawn fertilizer as if it's going to make you more of a man. And this is what I mean about seeping into our brains without us being aware. We're conditioned to think that our feelings are coming from our feelings are coming from our circumstances. Okay, now another situation of this is the Disney stories, the stories that we're read to when we're children, like I'll be happy when, happily ever after, right? That's a conditioning. You will be happy when the prince comes and gets you, and then you're going to have all the riches in the world, and you're going to live happily ever after. That's at the end of most storybooks. Okay, now this is innocent. I'm not saying that that there's wrong, but what it's doing is saying that having the prince, or having the castle, or say for instance with guys, it's Robin Hood being a hero will make you happy. It will get you the girl, and then you will live happily ever after, as if happiness comes from those things. Okay, and equally, if you are working really hard like Cinderella before you get whisked away by the prince, then you're supposed to be unhappy, because that's what unhappiness looks like. Okay, and we say it to each other every single day, like, you made me stressed, or our parents have told us that things are a certain way, like certain situations are fearful and certain situations are not, and certain situations are right or wrong, or when we were failed as a child, we felt bad. All of these different things. Basically, we're conditioned to think that our circumstances are creating our feelings. So what I'm here to show you in terms of confidence, how this will play out. Okay, so if you're setting up a business, or you already got a business, but there's stuff you don't want to do. So say for instance you don't want to make calls to clients because and you think that you're feeling your business, or you think that you're feeling the clients or the rejection from the clients, but really what you're feeling is this: I'm not good enough, right? It's going to be scary. Okay, that's thought. Okay, so circumstances are going for a job interview. This person thinks I'm an idiot. Oh, I'm never going to get the job. That's thinking. Okay, we can't feel job interviews. We can't feel our business. We can only feel thought. So I've given you a few examples here. When I was younger, it used to be like, oh my God, at certain people I would literally avoid, because I would think that they were so confident that I would feel like an idiot talking to them, and I would actually not talk to them. And then when I would talk to them, I would be in this anxious state where I'd be thinking, oh my God, I've got nothing interesting to say. What am I going to do? What am I going to say? They think I'm boring. Everyone thinks I'm boring. No one wants to talk to me. This is really uncomfortable. I bet I need a drink. I need a drink to get through this. Blah, 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 blah. That is what you're feeling. You can't feel a person. Okay, you can physically feel them, you can touch them, but I mean, emotionally, psychologically, we cannot feel another person. So if you're sitting at a party you know, and you feel that way. You're not feeling sitting at a party. You're not feeling interacting with a person that you fancy. You're feeling all of these thoughts that you have around it. So remember what I said, confidence is a place of no insecure thought. Okay? Confidence is a place of no insecure thought. You're only ever feeling thought. You can't feel circumstances. Okay. So let's get an exercise. Now, this is more of a reflection, and I don't want you to get too heady about it. I just want you to take yourself to this situation that you've written down, this goal, this circumstance that you would like to create in the future, where you would like more confidence. I'd like you to take yourself to this situation that usually you have anxiety around, okay? And I want you to imagine it in your mind. So now if you get your pen and paper, and I'm going to just, you don't have to write anything, you just need to consider the question. Where do you think your uncomfortable feelings are coming from? Now, this isn't to get rid of your uncomfortable feelings. I'm just making you aware of them. Where do you think that they're coming from? Where could they be coming from? So some people think it's coming from the past. Some people think it's coming from other people's judgment. Some people think it's coming from, you know, the future when we, you know, when we've messed it all up and we've lost our job and we're now we're responsible, and, you know, now we lost all our money and we feel like it's coming from there. So whatever this situation is, does it look to you like it's coming from the external? Because on some level, it probably does. So I'll tell you a story around this. When I started doing the videos that a lot of you will see me doing, I really believed there was a certain point when I couldn't do those videos. Like, it was me and an iPhone, right? But I couldn't actually cope with doing those videos. So I would procrastinate, and I would get all anxious, and I would go, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Oh my God, everyone's going to think I'm an idiot. And it was just me and my iPhone, right? Just me and my iPhone. What's there to be scared of? Well, it didn't feel like it was nothing. It felt like it was hell. But there's nothing about that situation that could be possibly anything other than my thinking. So when I presented this to Jamie, my mentor, Jamie Smart, he said, "Where do you think your feelings are coming from, Lucy?" And I said, "Well, obviously it's my thinking." And he said, "Yeah, well, if it was that obvious, would we really be thinking it? Like, would you really be having this experience?" And so I said, well, suppose not. He said, well, what percentage of it do you think is coming from the video, you know, the iPhone? And I think there was still part of me that believed that filming a video could create uncomfortable feelings. And so when we had this conversation, I was like, okay, yeah, probably isn't that way round, actually. Probably isn't. I didn't know that that was going to change how I felt about it. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't know how these things are going to change. These questions are going to change how you're seeing it. But I just want you to be aware. If you think that your feelings are coming from something other than your thinking, then that's why you will stay anxious with it, because you're a victim to it. Okay. So this is just an awareness piece. You don't need to work it all out. Okay. So the second point in seeing through the illusion of fear is that the present moment is the only truth. Okay, so what right now, this is it. This is all there is. And this is all there will ever be. Moment to moment to moment to moment. So you may have heard this, but in terms of what we're talking about, you know, again, like it fits in with the false expectations appearing real, because it's in the future. The thoughts are always off in the future, or they're memories of the past, okay? So Eckhart Tolle, another spiritual teacher, he said suffering cannot survive in the now. And that's true, right? Are you okay right now? Ask yourself this question. Right now, are you okay? And there's never, like, I'm fine. I'm just sitting here talking to a computer, but I'm fine. Right now, I could, if I was to go off into the future and go, oh, but you know, I've got this thing to do next week, and what about oh, I've got work in the morning, I don't want to go to work, or and I could go off and I could start to feel annoyed by my thinking, right? But it's in the future and it's not really there, because the present moment, which is all there ever is right now. That's the only truth that there ever will be. So what this means in terms of confidence and your situation is that your feelings about the situation, right? So imagine you're in this, okay, so say, let me give an example. So say you're freaking out about holding a presentation for a group of investors in the company, and the whole thing's riding on you, okay? So say that's happening. Let's go there. Okay, you're here now, and when you imagine that circumstance, you might get like, you might get really breathless, and you might get really stressed out with it, and basically you will think that your feelings have something to do with the circumstance. But here's the truth of it. Your feelings know nothing about your circumstance, because it hasn't happened yet. It's not there. It doesn't exist yet. Your feelings only ever know what's in your thinking now. So not next week, not last week, not tomorrow, not in 5 minutes, now. Your feelings are telling you about your thinking now. Okay. So like the child who's getting freaked out about the monster in the cupboard, right? There is no monster in the cupboard. They're feeling their thoughts. So their feelings know nothing about the monster in the cupboard. Your feelings know nothing about your meeting, or your whatever it is that you don't feel confident, the date night you're going on. They don't know anything about any part of the future. They know about your level of thinking now. So it's like a film playing, and I hope you can see this, that there's like a dual reality going on here. We've got now, and we've got the story that's playing in our head. And the only time we suffer because of that story is when we believe it's true. Okay, we believe it's real, but it isn't real because it's not there. Okay, so it's a great exercise for this. If you get your pen and papers, and I want you to write down 3 areas about your life that you're worried about. Anything at all. Anything at all. So could be money, could be boyfriend, could be family, could be career, could be anything. What are you worried about at the moment? Just 3 little niggly things, or whatever it is. Okay, so now when you've got them, I want you to ask these questions to it. Where are they? Where are these problems? Have they happened yet? Can you touch them? Are they physically there? Okay, so where is the problem? Where is it? And so really the outcome of this exercise is hopefully to get you to see that if it's not there now, whatever it is, then it's in your head. Okay, it's in your thoughts. So we're living in the feeling of our thinking. We're never going to experience anything other than our thinking. Okay. Can people can right, hang on 2 seconds. I'm just going to exit the screen because I can't actually control this while I'm in this. So hang on. Just going to have a look if people have got questions. Okay. Okay. Okay, so it's everyone talking about the sound. Is everyone following me okay? Can you put your hand up, please? Great, great. Oh, wonderful. Lovely to see you all. Thank you. So, okay, I'm going to go back into this. So 3 things that you're currently worried about. I want you to see that they're not in the room with you. So it may seem like they're very real, very big problems. But if you're okay now, then I want you to be open to the fact that it's all going to be absolutely fine. Whatever you're worried about is going to be absolutely fine. Okay, now the third point in seeing through the illusion of fear is that our state of mind impacts our thinking. And I love this one. I love this one. So our mood is like the weather, okay? We have bad moods and we have good moods. Just like children, if you watch children, sometimes they're tired and they're angry and they're stressed out and they have tantrums on the floor. But 2 minutes later, they'll pick themselves up and they'll be back to normal. This is normal. We have moods. We have bad moods and we have good moods. Okay, it's like the weather. None of them are, actually, in fact, they're not really good or bad, right? That's not really, then they're just moods. So we just assume that they're bad because that's the way we're seeing them. But actually, we just fluctuate into sad moods or into good mood, happy moods or into angry moods. And, that such is life, right? But what happens is that we think, right, this word again, think, that our outside world, i.e. the boyfriend, the job, the career, the presentation, the job, the lack of money, the finances, etc., 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 we think that is what's impacting our mood. And this is why we get very caught up, and this is why we get into a lot of trouble in our world, because we think that we need, in order for us to feel better, that we need to we need to do something about the outside world. And I love this quote by Jamie Smart. He said, "Your mood is a pair of glasses that you look through, which colours everything you're looking at." Okay, so angry glasses make everything look worth being angry at. Okay, and then he says, but the glasses don't mention themselves. And this is because this is how tricky our thought system is. It really looks real. Okay, it really looks like. So I'll give you an example of this. The situation doesn't even need to change at all, and you will see it differently, okay, depending on your mood. So sometimes I wake up and I'm in a bad mood, and it really looks to me like it's because I haven't got as far as I need to in my life. It will look like I'm a failure in this, this, and this. It's because I haven't got enough money. I didn't expect to be here at 29. Why haven't I got a child yet? Why am I not married? Why am I not, why am I not in a better job? And who is this guy I'm seeing? Like, he's obviously not good enough for me. I really need to sort this out because, and look at the mirror, like, look at the state of my face and my skin. And this is the kind of thing that goes through my head when I'm in a belligerent mood, right? And it really looks like it's got something to do with everyone else and everything else. But then the next day, I go to sleep, I wake up in the morning, and everything's fine. Suddenly, the guy that I'm seeing is just like the loveliest man in the world, and I go to work and I love my boss because he's really funny, and I think, I'm so happy where I am with my life right now. And then da, 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 and you can see how my situation does not need to change for me to feel good or feel bad. And that's because our emotion will only ever have anything to do with our thinking. It will never have anything to do with our circumstances. Okay. We don't need to change anything. So there's a really good, this is a guidance system for us. This can really help us in our lives if we learn how to use it. Okay. Oh, and just, yeah, I forgot this slide. So why do we stay in low moods? Well, we think the reason why we stay in low moods is when we think we have to change the outside in order to be okay again. So when we get into a thought pattern of, well, I'm just not happy because I don't have a child yet, or I'm just not happy because I haven't got enough money. I haven't got enough money, so therefore I'm not happy now, and I will only ever be happy when I've got more money. And I'm not saying that you're consciously thinking this, but it can really get deep, deep, deep into our consciousness that if we don't have everything what we want on the outside, we will feel bad on the inside. And it can be so subtle. It can be anything from not achieving promotion at work, or it can be, you know, the partner just isn't quite right for us, or you know, we would rather have a different carpet and the carpet's getting us down because, you know, we haven't got enough money to afford the carpet, which means that we're a failure in life. And this is the kind of thing that our thought creates, and it can send us on this negative spiral. And as soon as we think it's got something to do with our circumstances, we're a victim to it because we think it's out there, it's fixed, right? So this is yeah. So how we can use our moods to guide us rather than hinder us. Okay, so if you imagine when you're in a bad mood, your feelings are an indicator. They're a guidance system. They're telling you how well you're seeing the world in the moment. So they're telling you how clear your thought is. They're not telling you that you need to change anything, because when we get in these bad moods, right, we get a bit urgent. We could get right into it, like, right, we need to do something about this. Like, I need to change now. I need to go on a diet. I need to get rid of the boyfriend. I need to have an argument. We need to talk about this problem, right? And this is what our moods will do to us. We think we need to act from this place. And in terms, but they're not telling you that you need to do anything. They're telling you that you're in a bad mood. They're just saying you're in a bad mood. And so the guidance tips around this is, and this isn't a technique, this is just how I have learned from experience and this understanding, is wait till you are in a better mood, and then if you do still feel the same when you're in a positive state of mind, that's when you need to discuss or act on a problem. Anything you do from a bad mood will turn into worse stuff. It's just negative will attract negative. It's just going to be painful. Okay, so it is not telling you that you need to change the outside world. It's just telling you that you're not thinking right. Okay, so it's a guidance system. It's saying, wake up, you're not thinking right. It's not saying you need to do anything. And so this is why you need to just keep, you just need to not take your thoughts seriously for a while. And like the weather changes, your mood will change by itself. So you can relax, right? This is freeing, this is liberating, because you don't need to do anything about your mood. You do not need to change your thoughts. You do not need to act upon any of this. You can just relax. Okay. So another exercise for you, and this purpose is building your awareness. I want you to write down a time when you thought you were going to be really happy and then you weren't. And just think back. When did you have loads of excitement and expectation around something and then it disappointed you? Okay. And then I want you to write down a time when you thought you were going to have a bad time, and then actually it was all right. This happens to me all the time. I don't know about you, but I dread situations. Get there and think, oh, I'm so glad I went. Or I will be really excited about something. And then I get there and I think, oh, well, that wasn't all it was cracked up to be. Okay, and this is because we never know how we're going to feel, because we don't know how we're going to be thinking. So in terms of confidence and your situation, what I want you to see is you've attached feeling anxious to a future circumstance that hasn't happened yet. Okay, so your confidence in a certain area, whether it's going out and speaking to clients, whether it's presenting in a meeting, whether it's, you know, I don't know, going out with a guy that you really fancy and imagining that you'll never have anything to say because this is who you are, and you never have anything to say in these things, and you always have to drink all the way through these situations. This is what my head used to say to me. So when I want you to see that you don't actually know that you're going to feel like that. That's thinking. You're just thinking you're going to feel that way. And so if you're in a bad mood, when you're imagining the circumstance, if you're in a bad mood, it's going to look like it's going to be anxious filled, and it's going to look like it's going to be really tough. Or, like say this presentation, for instance, I had thoughts of, I don't want to do that. I definitely had thoughts of, well, what if I just don't do it? What if I just call it off? Not today, because I was quite excited about it today. But, in the last week, I thought I really can't be bothered to do the slides, right? Now, if I pay attention to that thought, then I'm living as if the thoughts are real. But because I understand what's happening in my head, then I don't need to act upon it. I don't need to act upon it. So when you're in a bad mood and you're feeling down, everything will look crap, including the thing that you think is going to create the anxiety and the area that you think you need more confidence in. So allow the mood to pass. And when you're feeling better, analyze the situation again, because it can look completely different. So basically what this is saying is that our reality is generated from the inside out. Our mood is impacting our circumstances, not our circumstances impacting our mood. Okay, so the implications of this at this point. Basically, you do not need to wait for a time in the future or a circumstance when you're going to be happy, because I'll be happy when is a thought that will bring you down. And there is no such thing as a problem. There's only a problem mindset, okay? You're perceiving it as a problem. It isn't actually there. It doesn't exist. And there is nothing to be scared of, because we will only ever be experiencing our thinking. We can't experience circumstances. We're only ever going to be experiencing our thinking. So it's like the wall is never going to bang our head. We're always going to be banging our head against it. It's self-created. So the anxiety that we're trying to avoid, we're creating. We've had it. We've had the worst of it. It's not going to come from anywhere. The only reason you're experiencing it is because you're thinking in that way. So when you can really see this and the implications of this, not just in your one situation now, but in your situation, in any situation in your life, whether it be relationships, whether it be career, whether it be parenting or confidence or whatever it is, this will psychologically free you from a lot of stress and a lot of worry. And it's not to say that you're never going to have insecure thinking again. It's just that you're not going to believe it's anything but insecure thinking. Okay. And even if the worst thing that happens that you can imagine, you are still only going to experience your thinking. So there is nothing that you cannot handle. Okay? There's nothing that you can't handle. And so the secret of those something about them people is the attractiveness. And this is really moving on to the next two pillars, is that they are being themselves, right? They're being who they are without the thoughts, meaning that it's not that they never get insecure, right? It's not that confident people never get insecure, okay? It's that they just don't, when they're being confident, when they're being themselves, when they're in that flow state and they're attractive and they're shining bright, which is we are all capable of, it is who we are, right? It's just that we think that we're not, and then we believe the thoughts. Okay, so what confident people are not is that they are not thinking of the best thing to say. They don't have a list of funny jokes or stories to wow people with that they come out with. And they're not trying to be anything. And this is why I used to think when I was drinking, I used to think that the drinking added more confidence. Okay, but it didn't. It took away the insecure thoughts. So I was acting. I'm not saying I was the best person when I was drunk, but what I'm saying is I was acting from a place of no insecurity. And this is what real confidence is about. It's not something you need to attain. You are it. You already are it. And so it brings me on to the next slide. Who are we? Well, we aren't our thoughts, like this baby here. This baby doesn't have thoughts about who they are, okay? We're not who we think we are. We're much, much bigger than our thoughts. Okay. So the last two pillars, and you'll probably see now why these will come as a result of not feeling your fear or seeing through your thinking or fearful thinking, is being ourselves, right? We are guided every single day by our intuition and our wisdom. We are not our thoughts. The thoughts are not what's in control, because if they were, right, if our thoughts were what was running the show, then you would have gone on that diet and you would have stayed on it, or you would have just walked away in that argument, or you would have, you would have, I don't know, you wouldn't have done something that you said you weren't going to do, and then you've gone and done it. So what's really controlling us is not who we really are, is not those conscious thoughts that keep going off in our head. Okay, that's not who we are. And so we can start to trust ourselves and the moment. We can trust ourselves in the moment, because we are much bigger than we can ever think. Okay, we're not our thoughts. And when we start to see this, we realize that we are always connected to other people. We come from the same life force. And when we have less on our mind, it's easy to connect with others because we're present. And we are all connected to the same life force. We're the same thing, and we're all going through the same experiences. So the more you see through your own experience, the more you will see the vulnerability and the love and the wisdom and the peace that lies within other people as well. People aren't scary. They're just the same as us. And we can always get into connection with anyone unless we're up in our thinking. Okay. So if you've enjoyed this webinar, I'm going to answer questions in a minute. So could you all put your hands up if you want to have a question to ask, please? Anyone that wants to ask a question, put your hand up. Okay, so we've got one from Claire and one from Alison. Great. Okay, so I just want to go back to the slide and then I'll answer it. So if you would like to see more, I'm going to do an event on the 4th of October. This is like an intimate coaching group. There's 25 spaces available. Now, this is really so you can immerse yourself in this understanding. If this has done something for you and you want to go further, there's only so much we can do in a webinar. Now, looking at the areas in your life, I mean, honestly, if this has done something for you at all, then I would be surprised if you don't start to see everything different from now. But there is always more to go, and there's always so much more to get. And I mean, the journey I have been on, attending events and attending coaching sessions, has been phenomenal. That, like, stuff just doesn't bother me anymore, and I mean that. I mean, it is phenomenal change. So this is, if you have areas and this has touched you, then this is an invitation for you to come and experience this. It's 25 spaces. The venue's going to be in London somewhere, and it's, you know, it's a safe environment for you to get into this. And what happens when you're in connection and we're face to face and you're in each other's energy, and you're, you know, you start to see so much more, and stuff will just start to drop off of your shoulders, and you will start to actually experience the limitless confidence as your new reality. So this is what I want for you, and it really is possible. So like I said, the event is in London on Sunday the 4th of October. It's £150. So you can see here the event sign up page, lucyforlife.com/event. Now, the first 5 people who sign up to this with me will get 2 hours coaching. Just to let you know, there's 25 spaces, but 4 of them have already gone. Okay, but I'm talking about the first 5 people who sign up from now also receive 2 hours coaching with me, where we can go into town with your details and your specific situations. Right. So Alison. Okay, I'm gonna answer Alison's question first. I'm gonna have to get out of this. Okay, how do I do this? Questions. Now, okay. Alison, if you could type in your question, if you're okay with me unmuting you, I'm going to lower your hands, and then if you're okay with me unmuting you, Alison, will you put your hand back up? Or if you would rather type in the question, then that's fine too. Okay. So, Alison, have you got a question? Okay. So I'll wait to see the question when you write it in. But Claire has a question as well. So Claire, are you okay for me to unmute you? Okay, I'll bring Claire on. Hi, Claire.
Hi, Lucy. I've got my kids in the background, and I don't know whether they're going to make a noise or not. So,
Oh, that's okay. Okay.
yeah, no. Okay. So, what I was wondering was because when we are kind of listening and thinking about things that we have to do, and sometimes I can apply. And I've listened to what you said, it makes so much sense. So, like, one of the things that I was anxious over was meeting my boyfriend's parents for the first time. And I can sort of see that that's kind of my thinking. But an area that I would like to kind of understand more is, how do I apply that for in a work situation? Because one of the things that I want to do more of is network marketing. And in that situation, going to talk to people, my thinking goes automatically to kind of, oh, they're not going to want to know, they're going to say no. And how do I kind of stop that chatter going on in my head almost?
Okay. First of all, could you be open to thinking maybe that isn't going to be your reality forever. So
Mm,
you just said that um, this is what happens to me in this situation.
yeah,
So if we can be open to the fact that that doesn't need to be the reality, that's not who you are. Yeah. Or is
yeah,
that yeah,
yeah,
okay. So
yeah,
when you're in that situation, why
yeah.
do you need to stop the thoughts?
Because it stops me from approaching people to talk to them.
Okay. So um, do you ever get approached by other people?
Yes, yeah, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's your fear around approaching people? What is it that you actually go through? What do you actually think?
That they're gonna. It's what they're gonna say. It's what are they? It's the fear of what the people are gonna say, I guess, really, in that they're gonna assume. I think yeah, it's all about it's I worry about what they're going to say, and they're going to think, oh, it's just a scheme, it's just something I'm not interested in, and it's kind of, I don't know, it almost sends me into this kind of panic mode of what do I say, what do I say, what to say. So yeah, I think that's what it is. It's worry about what they're going to say,
Hmm.
and then I don't say anything, and then afterwards I kind of like, well, I kick myself because it's happened, and someone else approaches them and they join someone else's team,
Hmm.
and you just think, oh, you dafto, why didn't you say something in the first place?
Yeah, yeah. So for one, the pressure that you're feeling that you need to talk to these people,
Yeah,
right? You've set that up. You need to talk to these people. So now you're beating
yeah,
yourself up about the rule that you've
yeah,
set in your head.
yes,
Okay. So you've created the idea that you need to talk to them, and then you're beating
yeah,
yourself up about not talking to them. Now,
yes, exactly.
yeah, okay, that's fine. So that's okay. If you can see that whatever happens, you're going to be okay. But also
Mm.
the experience of talking to someone and worrying about what they think. What what I really don't understand, why does it matter what they think of you?
Um, Gosh, why does it matter? Um, I think that goes back to the conditioning, a thinking that perhaps to when I was a teenager, that you worry about what other people think of you. I don't actually know why I would logic, if I think about it objectively, why am I worried what they might think?
Well, even if they were to
Um,
say to you, this is a scam,
yeah,
how could that impact you?
I suppose because I would um, need to justify it, but actually thinking about it, I don't really, because obviously if they're closed mind to such a sort of thing as to say that, then it just shouldn't really matter to me, so long as I don't feel the need to justify what I'm doing.
Yeah, and even if you do or you don't, right? It's like we have this
Mm.
kind of we have an assumption. What I heard there is that there's an assumption that if someone says something nasty, that you need to feel bad.
Mm.
Like someone says something that doesn't really represent, you know, they haven't read you right, they haven't got you right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So someone said to me once, it's preferable. It's preferable, and this is where we go wrong in relationships, is that it seems it's preferable that people think the same way as us, or that they perceive
yeah,
right the same way as us, or they see us in a certain way. But it's
yeah,
actually impossible for that to be the case.
yeah,
So they can't ever think. how you want them to think.
Yeah.
And what they think is like tiny, and it's so random, and like if you think about how you think about other people, it's like momentary. It's like
Yeah.
no one thinks about other people like in a negative way unless they feel threatened by them. So
Yeah.
this idea that what people think of you has got something to do with you, like it means something, first of all,
Mm.
is totally on their side. And second of all, it can't touch you because, first of all, they're not going to say what they think anyway, even if it was really bad. So they're not going to say it.
Mm.
Second of all, if they did say it, your reaction, Claire, is going to be based on your state of mind in that moment. It's not going to be based
Yes.
on what they've said. You
Yeah.
might laugh in their face. You might you might you might run home crying, but that's not going to happen either. It's like when we actually go there, it's the 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 circumstance we're imagining is so unlikely anyway. But even if it was
Yeah.
happening, you don't know how you're going to feel.
Yeah. Mm. Okay. No, I think the thought that I put myself under the pressure, that I then beat myself up, that I don't do something, that I should do something, that I don't do something, and then the assumption that they might say something, and then the thinking around the fact that I can't possibly expect them to think the same as me because we're all different. And there is that, it's none of my business how other people think anyway.
Hmm. Yeah, so this is it. It's like this is where what Jamie said to me about the video camera.
Mm.
It's like how much of a percentage of you knows that can't impact you? Like how much of a percentage do you think that your feelings will come from someone thinking bad of you?
Mm. It's an interesting one because I think I do get affected by what other people think of me. So, um, it's probably unrealistic, but it does feel like it could be quite powerful actually, though, that, if they did think that, then I might be quite affected by it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you don't know what they think,
No,
right?
so I'm making all that up in my head.
Yeah,
That's my thinking now.
we
So,
project it, right? We project
yeah,
it. We think it about ourselves, and then we put it onto them, and we say that's what they're thinking. How many times? I mean,
yeah,
I've done that so many times with boyfriends, so many times. That's what you just thought, isn't it? That's what you just thought. And they're like, no, and I'm like, yeah, it is. And I actually pick on
yeah,
them, and I tell them what they've thought.
mm,
But that's because we think that we think it.
yeah, yeah,
It doesn't mean that
yeah.
we
I
think it's
can see
true.
that.
We just think that that's what they think. So we
Yeah,
create it, and it looks real.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That makes sense. Okay, thanks, Lucy.
No problem. That's fine. Yeah. And just let that sink in. It doesn't need much to change this. It doesn't need much to
Hmm.
change.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful.
Cool.
Thank you.
No worries. Speak to you later.
Yep.
Cheers. So, if anyone else has another question, then I'll have a look if we have some questions in the thing. So, Alison, did you have a question? No? Okay. Has anyone else got a question before we cut off tonight? Please raise your hand. No? Okay. So that's it for the webinar tonight, and thank you all very much for attending. You'll have this recording for the next 3 days if you want to watch it back or relate it to something else. You will also, so like I said, the first 5 people to sign up to this event will get 2 hours coaching with me. It was a pleasure having you here tonight. Thank you.